Okay, this is my video log. The date is June 27th, 2025. Um, I don't know how to talk about this. I don't feel quite comfortable using the word, the technical words that are associated with what I experience, the psychotic symptoms. Um, there's a story that is what I'm experiencing, and the story uh, is very difficult. I don't know how to put it to words. It's emotionally, I guess I experience pain. Um, uh, it's the type of pain I'm experiencing is related to like a really bad. Um, it's kind of embarrassing to say this, but a breakup, um, or maybe not a breakup, but more so um, emotional challenges relating to potential relationship, and uh, and and uh, and so like I'm thinking about my past relationship and like relating to what I'm experiencing now, and it's kind of the same things. Like for example, uh, when I found out the girl that I started being friends with, and I started really liking her after a while, and I think I went to go hang out with her outside of school one time at a Fast Twitch gym because she was in softball, and with her dad. Her dad was there, and so I guess I met her there. I met her up there just after school, just for a few minutes, and or not after school, but like at nighttime after school, and uh, and so yeah, I was becoming friends with her, and in during our friendship, I guess she was talking with someone else, and I knew she was talking with someone else, but I guess I wasn't so sure about anything. But anyways, I kind of one day at school I sensed that there's something about her that was unusual or something remarkable or something notably different, and it made me feel really um, like uh, the like kind of anxiety type of breathing. You start breathing heavy, like something's going to happen, or something. It's I don't know. It's just some getting a bad feeling, I guess. And and so yeah, I guess I found out later on that something did happen between her and him, and that made me feel so bad because she was talking to me at the time, and we were kind of close friends, and I was kind of hoping that she would be more than my friend, and I kind of felt that she felt the same way towards me. I mean, that's the chemistry that we had. So when when I found out what happened, it just made me feel so bad. Like this sense of, I don't know, just such a bad feeling. I never felt that way before. It's like this sense of panic, but like this sense of being like I can't do anything and I'm stuck. And then there's this sense of like there's that uh, like kind of um, I don't know, like hyper alert. I guess I don't know how to say it. You're like on edge, and so like it's almost like you're maybe like in a mania almost. I don't know. I don't know if that's the right word. But yeah, when I experienced that, what I'm trying to get to is that when I experienced that, um, it was really hard, and so I had to go to class, my next class, after I found out, and I didn't like I had this sense of like nothing, like I'm here in the school. This doesn't matter. What does this matter? Like the teacher is telling me something. It's like it's meaningless. There's no point in being here. What's the point of school? You know, like, um, and so just I didn't it felt like things were pointless. And so I just, I felt extreme. I felt like I could do, or I just felt like, um, it didn't feel right to to be normal in like sitting down. It just didn't feel normal. So what I did is I was taking a risk, and the chair that I was on had two back legs, and you could kind of balance if you get on the back legs. And so I was trying to do that, but like recklessly, and I kind of got up and I kind of got into center balance, and I was like back and forth. I think I felt like a little bit of like exhilaration doing that, and then all of a sudden I fell back on on the chair, and just my head smacked on the ground like really really hard, and I just like got up with a sense of I don't care, and like really hurt. And so that was the first time I ever experienced anything like that, and it was, I don't know how to put it to words. It, like seeing myself in a reckless kind of mode, or just like I'm like in hindsight at least, like I'm just being reckless and kind of like self-sabotaging and self-destructive. I wouldn't say self-destructive, but like kind of maybe on the leaning on the side where like that's what's going to happen. Like the stuff that I'm doing is that. And so I don't know, I think when I fell down though, I think that kind of snapped me out of it for a second. And but I just remember just like my body, like I was out of it. And so that was really hard for me to go through. And I couldn't really, the thing is in my family, and what's common in a lot of families, is that when it comes to like feelings where you're hurt, and maybe those hurt feelings are a cause for anger, usually like what I understand is when we're kids and we experience that and we get angry as a result, it usually comes along with punishment, and like you're being bad, so you're going to get punished for it. And basically in the worst time, you're where you need the most emotional support, you're being treated in a way that is extremely degrading to your sense of self. And it really kind of, it has a sense of leaving you with a sense of helplessness, and what you feel doesn't really matter. What really matters is, what you did wrong, and showing remorse that what you did was wrong is ultimately what satisfies the parents. But even that is like, it's all wrong. It just like, destructiveness or self-sabotaging way of maybe even kind of like agreeing with, or don't do that again kind of mentality that parents often have. Um, so, so yeah, I think that very much so when we're in very challenging emotional states, that we, from a past experience, just an inherent part of growing up in our culture and the cultural norms, not just our culture, but like global society. It doesn't have to be everyone either, but just it's what's common. Um, is that, it just, I don't even know, like I don't know what to say. It's like we're set up to be in an emotional situation where we're just going to cause ourselves harm, and that's just the default mode. And so in my experience with having mental illness later on as an adult, I was diagnosed when I was about 24, 25. And I honestly, I sought the diagnosis on my own, not for the purpose of being diagnosed, because in my experience, what I was experiencing, I did not perceive my experience in the light of being mental illness. I perceived it in the light of, I am having a hallucination, and it's an awesome experience, and it's a very spiritual experience, and it's something that breaks the boundaries of my sense of what reality is, and it's the sense of freeing that it gives me. It's a very positive experience, is what I'm trying to say. So, and when I started, in my path to self-help, when I first was researching stuff online back in the day, I'm 42 years old now, but when I was researching stuff, there was a lot of negative commentary online about big pharma this, big pharma that, over pushing drug medication. Just it's unfair, or the medication that they're prescribing is harmful. A whole bunch of stuff in that topic of against big pharma. So that was something that it's there, and it just kind of, there's a sense of relatability that you can get from reading some of the stuff that they have to say on those websites. And but they were being honest too. They were like, the perspective is that they were saying, if you really need help, you can't really do it any other way, on your own way. You have to go through the traditional means to get what you need. For me, what I needed meant that I wanted to change my lifestyle. I wanted to do things more active. I wanted to be more physically active. I wanted to spend more time in environments that were good for my mental health, like spending time on a nature hike or in a trail. And all those things that I wanted to do cost money, and I did not have the ability to afford that. I was like, school was just, it's over my head. I couldn't handle school. Work, sure, for a little bit, it's nice, but then there's that sense that I would often get at school, which is kind of the sense of being singled out. And it's a reasonable thing to be singled out for a very specific reason, given a specific reason. And so, and maybe even, like if you're doing something inappropriate in a work setting, for sure, it could be grounds for getting fired. But nevertheless, there's still that emotional component to it where you're being singled out. And so, and having that experience in my life throughout my experience in school, which was a very common experience for me in school, I think that just kind of was too much. And so that's what I'm able to kind of look at right now in my objective sense of where I am now. And, I could see that. I could see what I was going through. And so yeah, I did knowingly seek professional help, knowing that it was not what I ultimately wanted, that I wanted to have the basis of the professional help there. I got diagnosed. And being diagnosed opens up the path for me to receive money from the government, or potentially, because at the time, actually, I didn't even, I just went to go get, first step is going to go talk to a doctor, a psychologist, and kind of go into some of the things that were, that had crossed my mind. So yeah, I don't know how to really go into detail of that. I don't think I have to or should. But yeah, I went to the doctor, and I was expecting the diagnosis that he gave me, or at least initially going to the doctor, I had that kind of expectation for the outcome. But when I'm seeing the doctor, I have no idea what the outcome is going to be. I'm just talking to the doctor and telling them some of my past experiences that kind of left an impression on me, that I was kind of left with an impression with, and not sure, maybe telling the doctor that might be some of benefit or whatever. And so, but the first main thing was, I'm not feeling so well. And so yeah, I was prescribed antipsychotic medication at that point for schizophrenia. And it was, the medication that I was taking was, maybe I shouldn't go into the medication, but yeah, I was taking a medication. I had learned of it on the commercials, and I was kind of interested, or kind of, I had some interest in that medication. For me, the medication, what it meant to me, or how I kind of viewed the medication, was mostly on like the basis of its name. Abilify. For me, it's like when I'm seeing the commercial for Abilify, I'm seeing images of people doing stuff that it's like, it just says ability. You have the ability to do this. And so Abilify, ability, that's, I guess that's the intention of the name, to the name of the drug. So yeah, I took the drug based on that. I wanted the ability to do things, to feel better. And open-mindedly, I'm trying it. I'm going to try it. I don't think I'm going to stick with it, but I'll give it a try. And so I gave it a try, and it actually, I think I tried it for about 3 months at first, or maybe for a month. And then I stopped. I just kind of didn't take it regularly after about a month, and which I think is actually very common in terms of how people are consistent with taking medication, and it's a reason why these long slow release medications were developed to help people out with those kind of things, I guess, or at least that's part of the reasoning. But anyways, so yeah, you could take a injectable for like, say for example, like Abilify as an injectable version, or instead of taking a one pill a day, you take that injectable and it could last for 30 days. Then you have to get another injectable, or even some medications have 1 year injectable and it lasts throughout the whole entire year. But yeah, in terms of those, you can't get those until you've really have a solid foundation in terms of your medication, like in terms of like the side effects and how it affects you, and all that stuff very well. And then the next step after you know how it affects you personally, then the doctor generally recommends or opens up the doors to that type of long-term medication. So anyways, I'm getting off topic here. So yeah, I was taking the drug Abilify, and then I think my mom encouraged me, or I think I went back to the doctor, and then I think I told the doctor that I just didn't. That's what happened. I told the doctor I don't feel anything, and I haven't taken it. And then so he increased the dosage, and I started taking that dosage, and I was taking it. I think with my mom, I think I bounced it off my mom that what I got diagnosed with, and I got diagnosed with schizophrenia, like just out of the blue. Coming home, my mom comes home and just say that it's like casual conversation of like just it didn't really change the atmosphere. It's like it's like maybe there's a little sense of shock, like what did you just say? But anyways, yeah, I ended up taking medication, Abilify, for about 6 months until I experienced one of those experiences again, those wow moments, those things that it's kind of like the foundation for what I really want in my life. Like in terms of like, just to put it in perspective, in terms of like what I wanted out of life from school, like I thought maybe something that I'm already good at would be something easier for me to do, so I don't have to struggle so hard and or work so hard. I don't want to work so hard, whatever it might be. And so yeah, but well, the one class that I just naturally was like absorbent listening, just it interested me, it intrigued me, and because of already my past experiences were related to that, the spiritual experiences, it was a religion class, Religion 101, and I got a really good grade in that. It was the best grade I got out of all my grades. But even though it was a B, it's for me, it's like, oh, I didn't get the A. Like that's how I felt towards that class. And so it really meant a lot to me. And I considered going into religion as like my main focus. But then I thought in my car, thinking about it in my car after school in the parking lot, kind of contemplating what I want for the future. And going to school for the experience of the spiritual things that you can't really quantify. Maybe their personal experience. Like, I don't want to go to school if my main focus is something that I myself don't feel comfortable quantifying in this very narrow perception that I perceived that would be part of taking religion class. And so I actually wanted to do a different type of learning on this topic. I wanted to do something more, I think it was called, I forget the name of it, but basically you don't learn what your focus is on learning is you're focused on learning it in an esoteric way. Esoteric way, from what I understood the meaning of the word to be, was that you learn through various experiences that don't immediately relate with each other, but there's a bigger picture that is gained out of these things that you learn. So that's what I just like my first thought on the topic of what I want for my future. And so, anyways, jumping back to after 6 months on medication, I had another one of those spiritual experiences again. And I don't know, this is hard to say, but after many years, I have come to recognize the person that was part of my, I don't know if saying part of my spiritual, the person that was there that I was experiencing the spiritual experience with, that's better, that's actually very accurate, was someone, so I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say her name immediately, but yeah. So like this is what happened. So I'm going on vacation. My parents took me out of school early. I was like, they asked me, do you want to go to this or do you want to stay in school? I want to do this. And so I was reading a book called The Da Vinci Code. And the setting of the book was like in France, Italy, Rome, that kind of area, Europe, and the Louvre Museum, and like CERN particle reactor, like, high technology weapons, whatever. So yeah, that book was very much, is based on, it's a very religious based book. So I chose to take that trip with my parents. So we went there. I was taking medication at the time. So on the trip there, I think my dad, he was working somewhere and we were going to leave from another airport. So me and my mom, we took the train to go meet him at the other airport. And so in the terminal, when we were waiting, that's when it happened. And this is something that really, it's a peak experience. So it really kind of sticks out in my memory. It's one of those very impressionable experiences in life. And I hadn't slept the night before, and I was a little bit, what I understand now to be manic. And I had smoked a little bit of pot also too, because smoking pot was part of that catalyst that potentially led me to a situation or an occasion where I might experience one of those hallucinatory experiences or hallucinations, one of those kind of reality bending experiences. And so I would smoke pot from time to time, but also recognized that I had an inherent tolerance after smoking for a period of time, and it ended up being kind of more of like a depressed kind of experience rather than the experience that I always expected out of smoking pot, or always expect or hope for, which is I hope for mental clarity, the experience to include mental clarity, and potentially experience something that's just, wow, a huge realization or something on that level when it comes to smoking pot. But yeah, smoking pot comes with, like, after a certain point, you have mental grogginess and have other symptoms that happen, dry mouth, dries. It's a whole system kind of experience, not just so mental. So anyways, yeah, I hadn't slept the night before. I had smoked a little bit of pot earlier in that night, and I just was wired throughout the whole. I was actually dancing that night in my room by myself. It's kind of embarrassing to, or I feel a sense of embarrassment, and when I say that openly, not now, but it's like, very fleeting second of, oh, I'm dancing in my room by myself. That's kind of embarrassing. So I don't know. So yeah, in the terminal, waiting for our train to arrive, I was sitting there with my mom. I had my book on my lap, the Da Vinci Code book. I had my luggage with me. I noticed, like, there was this light shining into the terminal through the windows, the really high windows, and just light, like, beaming through, this really high intensity beam of light shining through. It's very, like, this very captivating kind of scene of the terminal. I think that's how I vaguely remember it. Maybe just this one beam of light in the terminal is what I remember. I don't know, but that memory comes back. This is like 15 years, 2007. So kind of a long time ago. 13 years ago, 2007. No, is it more? 2007, 2017, and 2027. Yeah, so it's like 17 years ago. Yeah, 17 years ago, or 17? Is it 17? I can't even think. I don't even know how to calculate right now. I've been up all night. I can't even sleep um, because of this. What I'm going through. This I don't know how else to put it. It's the terrible feelings that is part of. Yeah, I don't even want to word it. It's too complicated to word it. Um, so yeah, I'm in the Amtrak station, and so I think I noticed someone talking very loudly at first from the distance, kind of maybe where the beam of light was. I think maybe, and I don't want to say it like that, but yeah, maybe that's just where my attention was for a second. So I just heard someone talking really really loudly, like obnoxiously loud, kind of way of talking. Um, I wouldn't say that as like as an offensive way, but just like the intensity of her voice, not obnoxious, but like you're just very strong. You're like loud, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I can't fix that if it's offensive. So whatever. Uh, um, so yeah, I don't know. I just kind of want to just say this story. Um, so this girl, I noticed this girl. She's walking in towards our direction or sitting in the seating area, and she's with her friend. And I immediately noticed she's carrying a really like one of those hard guitar cases, really bulky. Those things weigh a lot. She's carrying that, and so I remember like a musician, like there's a musician coming over here. And then I think I looked up again and noticed how she was dressed. She was dressed like kind of slutty hot kind of dressed. And I don't know. And like I feel uncomfortable to say that about anyone because I mean that's kind of a insulting word to call someone, I guess. So yeah, that's one thing that immediately was kind of attracting, but simultaneously a little bit like, uh, but she was really pretty. So that was the other thing that she was super pretty, and like I remember I felt like I wanted to say something. And at the time also, I didn't have any friends. I kind of had made the decision that the friends that I had put me down too much. They make fun of me. They make me feel like shit. And I made the decision for myself, for my mental health, that maybe I should take a break from them. And so I was alone for the first time in my life without any friends group. And they were like long-term friends that I had from like even back beyond when. And so yeah, I was completely alone. And but I don't know. So I felt strongly compelled to at least say something to her, but I didn't know what to say. So as she's like walking towards my direction, I hear her friend ask her something about, so is it Hannah or is it Hana? I think I heard the name Hannah before, and maybe that caught my attention too. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, I heard that, and so and the thing is that the book that I have on my lap, the main character's name is Hana or Hannah, and so that just kind of stuck. That stuck with me, and so as she's walking closer, I kind of make eye contact with her, and for a second in the distance, and kind of like maybe look away for a second, and as she's getting closer, I think I remember feeling strongly like I want to say something, but I don't know what to say, and so I just said Hannah, and I said it after they were having a conversation, I guess, her friend asked her, so is it Hana or is it Hana? I guess that was her name or whatever, her musician name. So her friend just wanted to like say, okay, so how do you pronounce it? And then so she said Hana. It's Hana. I think she said it's technically Hana or something. I don't remember exactly, but I just remember she said it was Hana. And so as she's passing by, the stuff's running through my head, and those feelings are kind of stirring. And right at the last second, as she's about to pass by, right when she's there, I just said Hannah. And she looked at me. I looked at her. I wasn't looking at her when I said that. I was kind of like saying it for myself because I don't know what to say. So I'll just say it for myself. And I just said Hannah. And then so she looked right at me. And for a second there, I guess the timing of it, or something about it, or the way that I said it, it was like I was making fun of her by saying her name in the wrong way, I guess. I don't remember how it went. I don't remember exactly what was the thoughts that were floating around with it. But yeah, that was like, there was an inherent sense of I just insulted her, and I felt really bad. Like I just remember feeling really, really embarrassed, really, really bad that that's just what came out. And so as she's walking past, or so I had made eye contact with her in that moment. I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, and yeah, just really kind of like eye contact, second, a moment of eye contact. And so she's passing by, and I think I felt embarrassed when I realized that I think I just potentially made fun of her name. And so maybe I think she saw that facial expression of like, oh no, like what did I just say? Or I don't know, but so like it's a momentary, like just a second micro expression, I think. I don't know, but anyways, they're passing by, and as they're passing by, I hear like they're saying, "Did that just happen?" And her friend said, yeah, I think it just happened." And then they're kind of discussing it for a second, and then she stops, and she turns back at me, and she says, "Hana," and I panicked at that point, and I felt so bad. Felt so bad, and I said Hana. I just said Hana right away, like I made a mistake. And so I don't know if I remember looking at her, but yeah, I remember there was a few moments of eye contact at that point. But yeah, the situation it kind of went into a really like it went from like I was feeling so bad, feeling really, really bad, and like wanting to say sorry, but like feeling the sense of I can't say anything, and just like it was so bad. And so, but the thing is, what ended up happening was as she's walking away, walking closer towards that direction behind me, I could still hear a conversation with her friend that she was having. And part of it was like, yeah, some people, blah, 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 way more like more embarrassed feelings coming from that conversation that I'm overhearing. And that was like escalating the feelings even worse and worse. So yeah, but there was a point where I realized that they're still walking, and I could still hear their conversation. Like I'm like acutely focused on their conversation now, and to the point where they go sit down, and it's across the way, and there's a lot of people talking, or there's a lot of ambient noises happening in the room. It's an Amtrack station. People are walking, and I'm hearing their conversation. I mean, not all entirety, but like I'm amazed that I'm able to focus in on that they're having a conversation. I could hear her voice, and I could hear her voice in all the noise around me. That was like, I have super hearing powers. That's how it felt like. It literally felt like I have super hearing. I'm experiencing this heightened sense of alertness, like super hearing. Wow. Kind of wow. And so I think, the discrepancy here to like normalize things in terms of like, supernatural versus reality. I think to normalize things, I think people oftentimes interpret reality from a maybe from a religious or a spiritual sense. I think that's very common for people to do that. Like I just saw a TikTok video earlier today. A possum had some kind of mange, it was completely bald. It looked like the lady was saying, "I rebuke you," and she was really afraid. She was literally like thinking it was a demon, and the poor possum, she doesn't even realize it's a possum that has this problem, and she's just casting it out in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you. Very serious. And I don't know, like this is a demon. I'm catching this demon in my yard or whatever. So stuff like that. So I think it just inherently, maybe it's the human component of how we interpret the situation to be. Maybe if it's too far outside of our experienced state of normality, and it's like the outlier of what we experience in life, maybe that is what we identify as that's super. And I mean, it is that. It feels like that. It's like very much that's exactly what it is. That's what the experience feels like. It's like wow type of experience. But I'm trying to normalize it and say that maybe there's more to it, and maybe my perception of it is already based on this understanding that's based on this generalized sense of understanding. That might not be what reality actually is. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to kind of like make things neutralize things a little bit here, because it is there's some extremes here right now. But yeah. So yeah, I was so amazed that I could hear their conversation. And all I could think about was I need to share this with her. I need to make her see that I could hear what she's saying from way over there. I could hear what she's saying. So what I started to do was, when I heard words that were part of the conversation, things that were like, so there's a conversation they're having, and then that's a pretty significant word that she just said as part of the conversation. Like I just caught that you had that conversation. And so what I did was I said the word kind of loudly, not at first. I think I kind of like was a little bit, I was just trying to, because my mom was sitting next to me, and I mean, I'm acting a little bit weird already. And so maybe I might get away with saying some loud stuff here and there, or talking to my mom. I think that's what I did. I was talking to my mom, and I incorporated the word that I heard in their conversation with a word that was that I was trying to tell my mom, so that way I could say it really, really loudly and kind of get away with it. So yeah. So yeah, I ended up repeating a few things that I overheard from the distance. Those things that I could hear, that I was amazed that I could hear their conversation in the flood of ambient noises around me. I could pinpoint and focus on their conversation. Realistically, they like the seating area where they were sitting. If it was completely empty, it's not that far. It's really not that great of a distance. And if people are talking normally, most definitely you could easily hear, if you wanted to, their conversation that they were having. It's really not that far. But yeah, the environment is a little bit different given that situation. So yeah, so I was yelling out I was repeating what she was saying. I was yelling it out to make sure that she knew that I was copying, that I could hear her from where I was sitting, and I had success. There was a success. She asked her friend in a very normal volume voice. I did say that she was talking kind of loud, and that caught my attention. That's another discrepancy of my perception or what was going on. But anyways, so I don't know what's real now. But anyways, she, regardless of the fact, she was having a conversation with her friend, and after I had said a few words, copying, as soon as she would say them, I would kind of say it. She did stop for a second, and she asked her friend, "Did you hear that? Did you hear what that guy just, or something? Did you hear what he said, or you didn't hear that?" And then so I was like, I think that's what I heard her say. I wasn't sure, because I'm not hearing the whole entire saying. I'm hearing like a packet, but it's pretty remarkable that I could hear it. A packet of the sentence, a portion of the sentence. But yeah, I caught her attention, and I felt I did it. I was able to say that basically I can hear you from over here, and I'm copying what you're saying. That's what I remember her saying. She said that guy's copying what we're saying over here. Her friend's like, are you feeling okay or something like that? I don't know. I think that's what happened. So anyways, this situation happened, and um, our departure gets called, and then I'm walking with my mom, and it's actually kind of far. Actually, I'm walking, and I passed the area where they were sitting, which was actually all the way very close to where the board was, where the departure data was, arrivals and departure information. They were sitting right next to that area, and I just I think I'm imagining what I heard them say is, "Do you want to move?" or something. I don't know if I'm imagining. Sometimes I imagine stuff, and I'm not sure if I actually heard it or if I'm imagining it. Because in my experience, what I know is that oftentimes it's hard to distinguish between what I imagine and what an actual memory is. Because sometimes there's kind of a very fine line between the two. Like I'll be imagining something or daydreaming something, and there's actually components of the daydream that are actually part of like my memory, part of something I remember. So it's just maybe hard to see it that way. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't say that right. It feels so off. But anyways, I'm passing by her. She's sitting down. I look over in her direction. I was afraid to look at her actually, so I looked at her friend, and her friend looked at me as I looked at her, and almost like immediately her friend said, and I'm remembering other things that were said in the first part of the thing where she's passing by me, other stuff. It was kind of insulting stuff. Stuff like basically emotions coming out that really I didn't have any control over, and feelings of disgust when and she interpreted that as, I think I did like this and then she did it too, or something like that. Because my nose is a little bit offset and a little bit have always felt a little bit self-conscious about it. It's not exactly symmetrical, and I think so I don't know how to say. I vaguely remember noticing that she has my nose, and for a second, like I caught that, and I was just like disgust. The feeling, the emotional response, completely uncontrollable. I noticed something for a second, like maybe I turn away out of uncomfortability, and she kind of emulates that. I'm not really like thinking about my actions; it's just happening, and then she's doing it, and then I'm feeling that emotion of disgust when I realize I'm seeing like my nose. She has my nose, and I'm like, I can't handle that, and then, and so, so yeah, this story. I'm just gonna leave the information just as it is, and I know it kind of like the story would be perceived as it's not real because how I'm experiencing it. There's components of the story that don't match the perceived what reality is. And so yeah, so I remember that. But also before that I remember where I initially started feeling the disgust, the very first thing that triggered that feeling, and then it came out more pronounced when in that nonverbal stuff. But the first thing that triggered that feeling was my ex-girlfriend. When the light's coming through, everything's like brilliantly illuminated. There's a lot of bright light coming into the room, and I noticed when I look at her, and I think she was looking at me for a second. I look at her when she's still kind of walking towards me. I remember I think she was close to me at that point, and so I remember. I think that's actually when she was really close to me, and right before I said her name, Hana, And so, but she was really pretty. So that's the thing. So she was way prettier than my ex-girlfriend. But the thing that really triggered my disgust, the first feeling of disgust, was I noticed her chin. She had the same cleft chin, I think is the appropriate word for it. I don't want to like sound insulting, but or sound degrading to someone's physical appearances, because I know like that is not something that I feel good about. But anyway, she had her chin was basically reminded me of my ex-girlfriend's chin. And the last experience I had with my ex-girlfriend, where I just felt so angry at her because I felt like she was betraying me, and I just felt like things were adding up to, I don't trust you, what you're doing in your sorority, and I don't trust that whole group of people. I feel like you're cheating on me. I was living with her at the time. She was living with me in my house. And so I had broken up with her, and she had come back to get her things. And when I'm kind of like my last interactions with her before like she's driving away, or when she's meeting me to get her stuff, I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, I remember just the light of the day was the day was brilliant. There's light, and the angle just kind of like it really pronounced her chin feature. And I really noticed it like that, and it really stood out in a way that I just never really took notice of before. And I never really, but there were feelings of like a lot of hard feelings that I was having towards her at that time. So when I remember part of what ran through my mind was, I can't believe I used to think, hey, how did I ever like you? Or how did I ever think that how did I not notice that? Or first of all, I never really noticed it that much. And I don't even, how am I attracted to you? How am I dating you? Mostly just repulsed towards her at the time, and focusing on her facial feature, just really increasing that sense of repulsion towards her, just to kind of maybe not be so assaulting or offensive, towards her as an individual, regardless of whether she's going to watch this video or not. She's probably not. And so, but yeah, it's always good to practice, I think, just like safe driving. It's like, just because no one's there doesn't mean you pass the stop sign. You still want to stop correctly every time, just to kind of reinforce the action, so you get, it becomes more accustomed to it. But anyways, so yeah, Hana, she's passing by me. I noticed that part of her facial feature, but she was like totally gorgeous. She was so I don't know, gorgeous, but she was way hotter than my than my last girlfriend. That's what the bigger thought that ran through but not a bigger thought, but that's the thought that ran through my head, alongside with that feeling of disgust, which was the stronger feeling that came up when I noticed that part of like she had the same chin. And so yeah, that just like it was triggering. It was very triggering. So yeah, the disgust part of the encounter is kind of, or more so the uncontrollable part of the disgust, or just like it's just feelings that I experienced. They happen. I didn't I didn't expect them to happen, but they happen, and they happen in the context of trying to say I'm sorry towards her, or trying to fix my bad by saying Hana instead of Hannah. And I don't know. I vaguely remember some more parts of the conversation happening, just a very brief instance of exchange of words as she's walking, and she stopped for a second to confront me for a second, which I don't know. So anyways, so yeah, this experience happened, and I'm about to leave the Amtrak station, and something just crossed my mind. I like to think about myself from a sense that I'm not really aware of parts of myself sometimes, or maybe parts of myself, they're not really, I'm not really conscious. Maybe, I don't know how to put it to words. So, but I also have the ability to practice introspection and think and realize, and hey, I just realized something. That's interesting. And so yeah, I just had to make that point. Um, so yeah. I don't want to say too much because I understand that when I'm going through very borderline challenging emotional experiences that are borderline delusion and hallucinations, or having imagery and just overall, you know, in that headspace where you start believing something, it could be a really bad direction. It could start leading you into a really bad direction. And, I always, or more so, I don't like ending up in a situation where I'm experiencing overwhelming hardship because of beliefs that I have reinforced, that have become basically part of my worldview and part of my how I perceive, and they're integrated into my delusions that I'm having, which aren't really delusions. Maybe they're coincidences that are happening. Maybe I'm just ruminating, and then when something happens coinciding with my period of rumination, I just make the connection, and then bam, that's happening to me. I don't know how to think about it, but all I know is that being in that state of mind, it's really hard. Getting out of that state of mind took effort. It took a lot of effort to apply some effort towards consciousness, and maybe thinking up of something that maybe would contradict my belief. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm having a memory right now of when I was driving up Northern California, my first road trip. I stopped by Malibu, and I encountered someone famous there. And I was in a state where I just kind of was a little bit out of it, really out of it. And I kind of recognized him. And then he said, "It's really me." And I was afraid to turn around because I was in the state of mind where I couldn't. But yeah, he lives in that area. Turns out he does live in that area. And that's the grocery store that serves that area where he lives. That's the Vons that serves that area. So yeah, that was a very famous actor from when I was growing up. I was a little kid. Mary Poppins. Um, um, so yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah. So sometimes I think things happen, and they really happen, really do happen, but maybe we're just so used to taking everything as a hallucination or as a delusion that maybe we overly reinforce, maybe even a destructive mindset more on a regular basis. We unknowingly do it in various ways that are counterproductive to our mental health. And there's a lot of good examples that come to mind of where that happens. I'm thinking of cooking, and so thinking I'm hallucinating something when no, I'm not. It's really happening. That's what happens when you cook when you cook that way. So yeah, when you cook rice that way, or any grain, or I don't know about any grain, but rice at least. Yeah. So I don't want to get into that story. I want to finish Hannah's story, which, by the way, I think I'm a little bit more comfortable now to say the person that I have identified that is, the time frame that she, I guess, so she came to Los Angeles. Hana, the musician, came to Los Angeles around that time frame. So, and also too, the first time I remembered that Amtrak situation was actually coinciding with watching the movie The Twilight. The first time I ever seen that movie, and the first song that came on the credits, I was listening to it, and like the whole movie, I just felt like I really connected on a very interpersonal level with some of the underlying storyline, like the emotional component, the component of like the social, where you're kind of isolated or you have these experiences and you're kind of different. I connected on that. I don't know. It's a little bit embarrassing to say that, but there's on multiple areas I connected with that, like the sense of we don't really understand someone, and maybe people make a lot of assumptions about that part of the story too. That was part of like them as being vampires. They're not really understood. That was a huge part of the story. And I felt like that. That was a time period where I had already gone through my first psychiatric hospitalization after taking, long after taking medication, or the very starting period where I took medication. It was a little bit after, a few years later, about 2 years later, I think. So yeah, I'm watching that movie. I really connect with it. The end credits, her song comes on. The first song that comes on is Hana's song after the Twilight, the movie. And I'm listening to that song and kind of contemplating the bigger picture of the movie. And things just ran through my head. And part of it was stimulated based on the words, maybe one word, and or part of the, I don't know, the lyrics, the words that was part of that song, the words that were being spoken as part of the song. It just one word maybe just brought me back to that time of in the Amtrak station when that happened. And then all of a sudden I realized something, and I couldn't quite grasp what I just realized. Like, I just remembered something I had completely forgot. It's the Amtrak station. I completely forgot about that. I'm glad I'm just remembering this. I'm totally out of it now with all these medications and all this pressure from everything. I can't even think about my personal side of the story of my spiritual experiences, my personal, to me, spiritual experiences. Can't even think about that. Those were near and dear to my experience. They're near and dear to my myself, as how, like, my aspirations, what I want in the future. So it has a lot of meaning to it. So yeah, I remembered that, and so I was like, this is really good. And I start reflecting, I start talking, like, just briefly in my self-talk. I remember that, and right when I said that to myself, there was a voice that's in my head for the first time, the first voice that I ever had with, in terms of hearing voices of schizophrenia, or not hearing voices, but any type of a voice or whatever it might be. It's the first time I heard a voice in my mind respond to my thought that I had just stated for myself, or my summary, or whatever it was, just a quick remark. Importance of notable importance. Like, I'm making mental note of this type of remark. And it became the girl. It was a girl, and she became immediately offensive by hearing what I was saying, and immediately was very much feeling like I was against her and I was trying to hurt her, and it just felt really, really bad. And I had to over and over again say, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to hurt you. I don't know what's happening. That's not what I want. I don't want to do. So yeah, that was kind of the experience. And after a certain point, she told me her name was Hana. The voice, I guess. I don't know. Actually, so I want to twist the story a little bit more. I was talking to Hana, a voice of Hana that I would often talk to. So I'm just contradicting myself. It's contradicting my belief that I just had right there. And so, but still, like, I don't want to go in that path too much, because I know there's more to the story, and I know that just letting it kind of go in that direction, and then in hindsight, recollect my thoughts. That's better than trying to prematurely label stuff. So yeah, I had a mental friend, or I think I was trying to talk to a voice, or I heard voices. I heard voices that would talk from time to time, and I'm not sure about that, but I would always call that voice, or those voices, Hana. I always call them Hana, and that's actually relating, I think. So. this is really hard. So yeah, I just contradicted a belief that I had, and it's hard for me to kind of sit with that shift in my perception. And so yeah, but as I remember, what I remember it is I had never had, like on a personal level, like one-to-one type of experience, had a voice respond or talk to me in my mind. I think what I was experiencing previously, especially in context of my first experience with hearing voices, it was mostly like I'm watching TV and like watching my favorite episode of Bernie Mac, and he always gets into these clips where he's kind of narrating situational circumstances it has. He gives his quick remarks on it, and it's kind of like how he feels and stuff. It's kind of interesting. I like that part of the show. And yeah, this made me feel like shit. Like his true self is like there in those side notes that pop up within that TV series as part of that TV show. So yeah, in one of those kind of one-on-one that he was having, like he was saying words that I could not believe. Like, I can't believe I'm hearing this. It doesn't really sound like those words are that I'm hearing, but that's what I'm hearing. Like, it's like, I don't know, like, I don't even know how to put it to words. It's like tongue twisting, mind boggling. But yeah, that specific experience where Bernie Mac was basically, in a nutshell, to make it a little bit not real, nutty, kind of crazy. I don't want to say that actually. It's just complicated. But yeah, he was saying stuff that I had never heard anything like that on TV before, like negative stuff. For a second there, I remember thinking, oh, I think the FCC just made it legal to say cuss words on over the air or something like that. Or that was some news that I heard. I wasn't sure if it was real or not, or if I had heard it incorrectly. So I just had kind of assumed that, oh, maybe it's just, they're just allowing cuss words now. But it was different. It was like he was saying all these words to me, and there was a sense of anger that was part of how he was saying it, that felt like he was talking to me directly, and that was just kind of leaving me in this kind of hypnotic state of like, what did I just experience? And so yeah, that's kind of maybe more like at least the starting of hearing what hearing voices was like. And then there's the thought broadcasting, which is like on the next level of delusions, which is pretty difficult. So yeah, but in terms of like one-on-one, I have a person there talking in my mind rather than I'm hearing it externally. I'm not sure though, because I'm not sure. This is very long ago, but I remember that's my memory of my experience when I heard that voice respond to what I had just realized in the movie, in hearing. I'm so out of this story, just like drain. I just want to continue it too, but I'm just so, I'm better now, not better. So yeah, first voice, one-on-one, talking in my mind. Okay, yeah, so this is the discrepancy. So I did hear a voice before that time, where it's like I recognized it as my first experience of hearing a voice in my mind. Like a person is talking to me in my mind directly. That's wow. That's like the next level. Wow. Like, this is cool. Like, this is good. This is what I want. This is nice. But it's simultaneous. It's like, it's a really conflict situational circumstance that's really hard. And so there's not really much room for like the bigger wow type of experience, but it's kind of a mixture maybe of both that I don't realize at that given moment. But yeah, I did hear a voice in my mind. I think I might have forgotten immediately after I had experienced that. And side note, forgetting immediately is a common experience that I would have, or it's an experience that I have had like I experience a like wow type of hallucination, or I don't even know how to make it a hallucination. It's really happening, wow, kind of wow, and and then there's maybe a component of the experience that is a little bit maybe hard to process, and then for a second there, I just kind of can't think about it. It's just kind of like blank, and I know what I like. I'm only left with the thought. I'm left with thoughts of I don't remember exactly what I just experienced. I can't really think about what just happened, but I'm aware that it's like wow, spiritual experience, but I can't really put my finger on it. And then right as soon as like I'm thinking of like I can't really think about what I just experienced, all of a sudden like momentary, I'm conscious of it for an instance, and I'm like, oh yeah, and then I just can't. Just for a fraction of a second, it comes back, and then it's hard to kind of be mindful or kind of be conscious with some of the experiences that were more difficult. Most definitely diminished consciousness. I don't know how to put it to words, but yeah, that diminished state of consciousness or memory lapse or whatever it's called. Like I can't think about it. Kind of maybe it's overwhelming to that degree. That happens sometimes, and so yeah, those are memories that are kind of like when I come to remember those in hindsight, like in great clarity. I'm able to kind of see the bigger picture of those experiences. And then I'm like, part of it is like, I recognize that, yeah, some of the components of that spiritual experience is totally kind of nuts. Like schizophrenia, hearing voices kind of nuts. Like hearing angry birds talk in a tree, bickering between each other, after I blow my didgeridoo trumpet in the amphitheater when it's almost 10 o'clock at night, and I wake up the birds in the distant tree, and they're going all crazy, and they're saying, like, I'm listening to these birds like get all roused up in the tree in the distance, and I'm kind of captivated by hearing all the commotion. And then in a second I realize that they're saying stuff. They're saying like funny things, like curse words that people say when they're angry. And right when they said that, the two-story house that's next to it, the light turns on, and the guy's like, he's really upset and angry, and he's saying, fuck, like the students, whatever. And, as I was walking home, there was a police car that was driving past me as I'm holding my didgeridoo in my hand. And so yeah, I didn't play past sound curfew, but, I kind of disrupted someone's sleep, maybe trying to get sleep earlier. But yeah, I was cutting it close 10 minutes before sound curfew. But yeah, to me, it was like totally doable. Totally could do it. And so yeah, that was just angry birds, like a group of birds, like little tiny birds that are just saying cuss words, bickering cuss words amongst each other. It just like there was this sense of like, am I hearing this? This is so. There's a sense of it's so funny, but it's not something that's wordable. It's just like this sense of, and then I can't think about it for a second. What just happened? And so yeah, completely not even having that memory after it happens. That's it. I don't remember what happened. I'm just left with the feeling of I experienced something profoundly awesome, and I know it was a spiritual experience, but I can't really remember it. I can't wrap my mind around it. I can't remember exactly what happened. All I know is just it was wow, and I want to experience more of those type of experiences. That's the only memory I have after that type of experience. And so yeah, hindsight, nowadays, I'm able to remember those things that were completely outside of my conscious memory. And I have a lot of those memories coming up, not just, it's in context of other things, like, for example, things that left me with a strong impression in school, things that really hurt me profoundly in school that I just never could really talk about, that I kind of had to keep to myself, and that I felt really hurt about, that left that feeling of impression and like kind of this mark. It left this mark of that's my experience in school, kind of those are the strongest memories as part of it. And then like just kind of going through time, going through high school, and those memories kind of like they kind of fade away. They kind of I just kind of forget them as like something profoundly impression left me with a profound impression. Um, um, so yeah, uh, school. That was the first time I really felt social, like I fit in, and I felt it was only because I was able to kind of choose my own style, and I started and my glasses. I was able to get rid of my glasses, and I started feeling so comfortable around people because I felt more confident in myself, because of my physical appearance felt more appropriate to what I felt was my reflection of me. And I just it was easy for me to say hi to someone and say hi to someone else. And then after like 2 weeks of that, I had so many friends, and I was in this big group of people that after during lunch we just all grouped together and we're just talking amongst each other, and it was the best experience I ever had ever in school. I never had any experience like that ever again after that. And yeah, there was some other stuff that happened coinciding with that time that was part of the reason why it kind of led to that emotional cliff. Um, so it included getting suspended for doing something that I probably would get in really big trouble for doing in schools nowadays. Like that's where shit is now in school. Like it's really bad in school. Like it's just really strict. So I don't know. But we have homeschooling now, which arguably I probably would have liked better because I don't know. I don't know how to weigh it, but yeah, it was hard for me to accept that all the girls that I really liked, they were all into me. Like it was really hard for me to acknowledge that and to like realize it as that's like they're trying to hang around with me. They're trying to interact with me, and I don't know how to interact with them. I'm just pretending like they're not there, and then they're saying, "So you're just gonna pretend like we're not there?" I'm like, "I guess that's what I'm gonna do." And then their friend is saying, "I guess that's what he's gonna do." Like, it's crazy. Like I seriously don't know. Like I think some of these experiences that I had in my school with like just maybe how I interact with people, like maybe had an effect on my mental chemistry later on as an adult. Um, Maybe I'm a little bit exaggerating when I kind of make it part of the story, but yeah, that story does kind of stick out. It's very vague. It's when I was like 10 years old. I'm 42 years old now. So, but yeah, I remember that. It's like I'm playing, what's it called? Metal Slug we're having a field trip at at the adjacent hamburger shop, um, and hamburger restaurant. And so yeah, that hurt actually a lot. That made me feel really separate, experiencing that sense of just like it's almost like I intentionally denied them and I couldn't stop it, and it hurt me so bad. I just remember feeling so bad from that. And I just realized that that's what I'm experiencing now with my relationship, that I'm kind of, that's part of, I don't know how to call it a relationship, but that's what I'm relating to it as, a relationship problems, relating emotional problems relating to like relationship stuff, related stuff. I'm so tired now. This is emotionally exhausting. I try so hard to try to choose the right words, but in doing so, I don't even want to talk anymore. um, so yeah, I just it's good to talk because I realize stuff about myself that kind of expands my horizon of perception beyond just now. Like this is what I'm doing now. I'm trying to change it. I'm trying to be different. No, my horizon of perception now is expanded to, I did that when I was in seventh grade, and I couldn't stop it, and that hurts so bad. And that's what I was doing all night last night. It hurts so bad. And so, I just want to finish this kind of talk. So it was Hana. Hana. I don't know. I don't want to say her last name because if you really want to dig that deep, I don't even want to say that either. I don't want to encourage anyone to do that kind of stuff. And so yeah, just take it lightly because this is a very difficult situation. Is what I really want. Just in case the spiritual experience turns out to be, hey, parrots talk all the time. Why not birds talk in context of maybe a situation where they're put into a high state alert. They're supposed to be sleeping, but they're not. No, they're not sleeping. I just woke their asses up. And now the neighbors cussing, and now like I'm recognizing all the cuss words that I'm hearing in the birds. The neighbor is using those words, and maybe the birds are just reflecting what the neighbor in the house is all the time saying because he's frustrated or whatever. Maybe he's trying to get to sleep early because he's trying to feel better. I don't know. Maybe he just hates life. And so, yeah, that was a super funny Angry Birds experience. I wouldn't trade it for the idea of it being a hallucination or a delusion. I would not feel, I just feel ripped out of my soul to replace that profoundly awesome experience with this idea that it is part of something that is, a degraded state of consciousness or part of a mental illness kind of thing. I don't know. I don't want to say degraded consciousness. It's not. I mean, but still, it's and it's sometimes not good to think about stuff negatively. But I don't want to be negative and trying to be positive either. So I don't know. So yeah, I really love Hana. I love her all the time, and I can't stop loving her. And she comes out with music all the time, and it's a reflection of my experience that I'm having with Hana. Like, I don't even feel comfortable talking about it. So maybe someday she'll see this video and maybe, I don't know what to think. That'd be nice. You can't really rush any. In my experience, I know that, people, you can't really convince someone of anything or to think a certain way or to see a certain thing a certain way. You can't really like force that. It kind of has to happen naturally on its own. It kind of makes me feel like I want to cry a little bit on the inside. But yeah, I don't even want to say that. I don't even want to say that. I kind of feel bad saying that too. I don't even know what I'm saying now. So yeah, I have extreme jealousy over Hana. And before it was Hana, I didn't even want to say that. I don't even want to say that. And I feel concerned about where things are going. And I don't even want to it's personal stuff and shouldn't be, besides, if I was to, I wouldn't want to see a doctor, and I don't even, it's automatic, recommend to prescribe you medication, but it's your choice ultimately. But the problem is, when I'm emotionally unstable, it feels like it's not just like a recommendation. It feels like it's an expectation, and that feels like a sense of it's tied in with my past experiences of feeling like I was coerced. And I don't know, it's it might not be coercion, but in certain contexts, when I don't want to get into that. It's a very long story. It has to do with hospitalizations and feeling trapped and feeling like I just want to leave and I don't want to stay there. I just want to go home. You'll do anything at that point. I mean, for me, just doing what they said, it was a lot less scarier than trying to stick with my wits, stick with what I truly wanted, because in sticking with what I truly wanted, it amplified the criticism that I was experiencing from my parents, from the doctors, and that kind of sense, the emotional sense of being perceived like that. It really had, in my experience, it did not feel good at all. And it felt better just to have them feel better so that I feel better. And that's what happened every time going into hospitalization. After the multiple 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, one of the hospitalizations was because I was separating myself from my beloved Hana. And I couldn't kind of get her back. It was just it was kind of a little bit beyond reach at a certain point of just kind of I guess wishing her away because I was hurt. And I don't remember that actually, so I don't want to say stuff prematurely, but I remember being hurt, and I remember Hana was relating to Hana, and I remember I just felt so bad in the hospital, and just but yeah, I had a spiritual experience in the hospital that time too. I don't even want to say it because it's like it's the Da Vinci Code thing again. And maybe that's actually, I'm just realizing a connection here. Hana, Da Vinci Code. I didn't recognize that. I find that when I talk about stuff, I recognize stuff that I don't really immediately, like, I don't really make those connections. I mean, I don't want to say it's simple, but it's something that I don't make that connection with. And talking really helps me make those connections. Hannah's music really helps make those connections, bridges. It creates a bridge between my experience in terms of, is it real? Is it not real? And I don't feel comfortable saying this either because it's that hospitalization association again, and it's like recommended take medication if that's where it's at. But yeah, she says stuff in her songs that I relate with on a very personal level, like so personal that it's mental illness type of personal. And I don't even want to try to make sense of that either. I don't want to say anything about it, so I'm just going to leave it confusing. If someone gets it, they get it, sure. I don't even want to think about it myself. I'm not going to acknowledge it. I think for someone, I don't know. I don't want to treat my viewers bad. I didn't make this video expecting to, but I did at some point to have viewers. But I mostly made it as a video log because I wanted to talk about this. I need to talk about it. And it really hurts where I am. And I feel like maybe it's a healing kind of pain rather than a bad kind of pain. I know I feel a bad kind of pain now after saying that. Maybe it's the duration of how long I feel the pain where it's perceived as good or bad, or maybe it's more complicated. There's more complexities to it. I don't know. Yeah, congratulations to Hannah's new song that she put out, Elusive. Very much those experiences that we want in life the most. Maybe they're a bit elusive, and or maybe our emotions. I think that's more along the lines of where I'm at with the elusive thing, is that emotions sometimes they're kind of like elusive. Like you get close to them and then maybe you want to say it, but then in the process of doing that it moves away a little bit or shifts a little bit, and there's a sense of elusiveness that's part of feelings that I have towards Hana. I'm just saying it straight out. But yeah, in general, I experience that, especially in context of things that are more emotional. I don't know. I can't say that either. I'm not sure. I can only 100%. That's Hana. That's vaguely. There's other things that come across my mind that I've that word elusiveness. It's like I want to eat healthy, but I just can't eat healthy. It seems like when I try to do it, I just can't do it. The more I try to do it, the kind of like the more maybe self-sabotaging it becomes. So maybe there's a science behind it, where like practicing a very specific way or taking it in a certain way. There's a certain strategy to do it where most definitely you could be successful in being able to accomplish something that might be an eating disorder on an eating disorder basis with trying to do diet change. That's how I feel with diet change in the context of trying to do it for like mental, as a replacement for drug medications for mental illness. It took me a while to kind of process that mentality in context of, I don't know what to say now. I think it was already self-explanatory. Someone's really paying attention. I'm really paying attention. I don't want to explain it. And yeah. So yeah, Hana is supposed to be with Mike, but then now Hannah's with, and then he's a DJ. And I don't want this to be criticism either, but I kind of don't want to deny myself my emotional I don't want to say that, space, because it is very difficult to experience it on a person level with Hana in that way. So the way that I was describing my experience today, the way that I relate with it better in terms of communicating it to my mom, because I'm having a difficult morning, or I've been having increased symptoms of psychotic symptoms. Like I think I'm hearing stuff, someone say something kind of, I think I'm hearing stuff maybe. And yeah, and if I just focus on one thing, I'm not sure, but if I kind of stop trying to focus on one thing and just take a step back, the bigger picture, it's easier to kind of recognize it, just for an instance, very brief instance. But yeah, I've been having increased psychotic symptoms. It's been kind of gradually coming. I haven't been being as consistent with my diet. I should start to do it now, especially but I think maybe there's the emotional component to it too, or just that is a bit triggering. But from the sense of like, physically, I can't eat that way. It's too much. So I'm getting, physical reaction. My throat feels like it's closing up. All these different symptoms, digestion problems, like loose stools, having problems with loose stools outside of just the bathroom scenario, which is totally difficult for my sense of self, but I'm totally cool with it, I guess, on a certain level. Like, I know I'm going through some difficult stuff, and it's not continually like that. It's kind of, I take it as it comes on that basis, and when I'm better, it's much better, and I feel much better. And I think there's a consistency component to this diet change thing. So yeah, shout out to Hana Pestel's song. I just said her name, Pestel. Hana's song, Elusive. And then Pendulum. Everything, it's like I'm working with her like as though Mariah Carey works. That's my imagination, at least. I don't know. The reality could be a little bit more harsher, which is, I imagine, totally, I don't even want to go there kind of thing. And because it's kind of hard to have like a sense of your personal space when someone else is in your personal space, like in your head. It can be kind of difficult. But I don't know, maybe it's just, for me, my experience, it's my own unique sense of difficulty that I have for it. And I wouldn't want Hannah to feel, maybe I would want her to feel bad about it if it helps me. That makes me feel really bad to have said that. I shouldn't have said that so lightly. I'm happy I'm able to say that. So yeah, basically the stuff that happens, that goes on, personal stuff, makes its way into her music. And that is very difficult to accept, as that's really happening. That's part of my experience. Very difficult to accept. It's also very difficult to deny. And I don't feel those emotions in the same time either. They happen in their own separate space and time. And it kind of sucks to kind of rush through that natural progression of how your mind naturally, you have a focus on something. It really hurts to kind of prematurely want to hurry it or change it or something like that. It really hurts a lot. So yeah, I'm grateful that I have the feedback that I'm experiencing that reinforces this connection that I'm experiencing. And it's hard to say because I can't remember why. I recognized why it was hard to say. And I kind of feel a little cautious to say it, but maybe I should say it because it's part of myself. It's not just Hannah. Hannah. It's not just Hannah. It's happening. It happens. It happens in various ways, and very much so becomes undeniable that is undeniably that is the experience of the typical. I don't want to say typical, from my personal experience, that is that is what schizophrenia is. That is what it's defined as. But it doesn't mean that, in my open-minded perspective, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It can exist, right? It just maybe being able to have an open mind to it, being able to, maybe more than having an open mind, being able to accept your feelings. I think it's a first good step to emotional security or feeling better emotionally. And I think disregarding like the mindset or the perceptions that come with that feeling better feeling, I think it's recognizable that it's okay to allow yourself to feel better. Whatever way it might be. I mean, maybe there's some limitations to that where, I mean, the consequence of the limitations might result in something undesirable, but I don't know. Maybe for some people, prison isn't that bad. Maybe it's something that they always wanted. It's the place where they fit in most. They never wanted to work. They feel like the outside world is crazy and crap, and prison is the place where they just belong. It sounds condescending to think about it that way, but yeah, it's a place of belonging. So I don't know what kind of person that is. That feels bad to sound condescending towards that kind of person. I don't even know if that kind of person exists. I have my own problems, and I don't even want to weigh or compare my own problems with condescending based on someone else. I don't even want to think about it. Brain fart. So yeah. One time I sent Hana a direct message through Instagram, kind of, I don't know, it's about something I just said, and it's kind of a little bit difficult to write that, but I figured, hey, if this all stuff is really happening, maybe, if she reads that, she might not even want to read it. That's the problem. This is like kind of an intrusive kind of thought. But, maybe that might encourage some empathy if there's a little bit of hostility coinciding with stuff, with difficult, challenging parts. And so, I don't know. This is really hard to talk about this stuff because it's really a twist between schizophrenia and the belief of reality. And both sides, the schizophrenia side takes the win. My side, even though it's the foundation for my sense of reality, it's something that easily takes the back seat. And so yeah, there's consequences to having these beliefs, but I think it's more so in context of maybe responding to or reacting to my beliefs. So maybe this idea where I believe I'm with Hana, and then maybe I go try to say hi to her in real life, and then maybe it doesn't turn out the way I expected, and maybe it does, maybe it probably likely doesn't, which is what I fear the most, and which is kind of my strongest sense of the outcome which would be. Yeah, that is not, I don't know. It's nice to have Wilson when you're alone on an island. Wilson is your best friend. Wilson is your best friend. And so that's an old movie, Castaway, Tom Hanks. It's okay to have a friend. So yeah, some of the most alone I've ever felt was in this experience, this hardship experience of my life. So yeah, I wanna